Hello and welcome, Midnight Coders. I am your host, Clave. So, today we are going to build something small to explore how HTMX works with Spring Boot and Thymeleaf. We're going to create a to-do viewer that pulls data from a JSON placeholder, displays the first 10, and then dynamically loads more as we click a button. No front-end framework, no React, no Vue. So make sure you've got that full cup of coffee, and let's dive on in. So what exactly are we building? Well, we're going to create a to-do viewer that pulls data from a JSON placeholder API site, and it's going to pull in the 100 to-dos that are there. It's going to render the first 10 to our page, and then every time we click the load more, it's going to effectively keep pulling more and more and more without ever refreshing the page. Because if we do refresh, we go back. So let's take a look at how this is built. So to start out, I've got a basic application here, just demo HTMX. And the first thing that we're going to need to do is create a model. So we're going to make a Java class. This is going to be a record, and this is just going to be to do. Sure. This is going to have a long ID, a string title, a string for the description, or technically it's called the body in our in the payload, and then we have another long, which is the user ID, and that was supposed to be long. There we go. All right, and that's it for the to-do model. This or for the to-do. Next, we're using a Java record here because it is immutable and there is basically no boilerplate to it as far as like getters go. As well as it's perfect for mapping HTTP requests or JSON requests from another API. And this will be mapped directly from the JSON by the API. So next we need a service layer. So next we're going to come into here, we're going to create a quick little service class. This one is just going to be, I guess not demo, we'll call this to-do service. All right, and now this guy needs to be annotated with service, and I'm actually going to also save in on a little bit of boilerplate, and I'm going to use required args from the Lombok. Next, we're going to have a private final REST client. And this is screaming for cannot find a bean. So let's go back into our main application here, and we're going to create a quick bean. Now, this bean I am going to copy because we don't need to technically see me write this out, but let's do the imports and explain what this does. So this is going to create a, there we go, jeepers. This is going to create a reusable REST client. It's going to build it out. It's going to give us our base URL, which is that of um, the JSON placeholder service, which just simply has to-do posts. And we're setting up a default header because this is using JSON. So let's just save us a little bit of boilerplate. So go back into our service. This should now be happy. And what do we need to do in our service to once again, save us a little bit of time. I'm going to just copy paste some code in here so you don't see me sit here typing all this out. So what this does, this first part, let's walk through this. This is going to get all of the DTOs um, from or all of the to-dos from the host. We're going to use the REST client, make a GET request, because we're not actually manipulating the URL or adding anything to it. We don't need to specify the URI here. We're just simply going to retrieve from where we get, and we're going to return a parameterized type. We're not going to provide anything inside of the diamond because it is explicitly looking for it right here. So this is going to return a list of all the DTOs. This pulls the 100 to-dos from the API. Next, down here, we are going to take care of a little bit of pagination in the sense that we are going to grab initial to-dos, which is going to be a default page 0. This is going to pull in a list of a default amount of 10. So if we follow this through, you'll see that down here we are fetching all to-dos. Yes, this should technically be done up on initialization, but I'm trying to keep this example short and sweet. So this creates a very simple paging system where you pass in page number whatever, uh, in our case 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever the page may be, and it's going to fetch us 10 results by default. Next, we need to move into our controller. We need to make ourselves a quick little to-do controller, and this guy is going to have a couple of annotations as well. This one is going to be a controller. We're also going to slap on here. We're also going to slap on here. Sure, we'll use that request. And we're going to do our required args from Lombok so that we don't have to pull this in. So next we're going to need our to-do service, which I am just actually going to name service. And then in here, we have a couple of methods to write. There's only two, but this is going to be a get mapping, and we're just going right to the root, so we don't need to provide anything. And this is going to simply be a string of getting all to-dos. Now, we need to be able to stick some information in here, so I'm going to do this for model. Again, I'm not going to explain too much, just simply because this is not what the this tutorial is about. We need to get into the nitty-gritties. So the other thing that we're looking to do is next we need a way to load more. So we're going to come down here and we're going to make another get mapping. This one is going to be loading more. So we're just going to simply say load more. And this is going to take in a public string. We'll do that for now. Okay, so this is going to be loading more. We are going to have this model in here, but we also need a request parameter. So we're going to come in here and we're going to say request param, and the request parameter is an integer, and it's the page ID. Okay, so now we're going to come down here and we're going to stick something into our model, which is getting the page by the page ID. And from there, we're coming down here and we are redirecting us. We're not going to our to-dos because we are going to have to, or to-do, because it's going to be technically to-do.html. This is going to be the to-do view. And I can explain a little more about this once we get into it, and this is going to be a view. No, a row. A row. Okay, don't worry too much about this. This is just us passing in a specific fragment or grabbing a specific fragment out of a view. So next, we need to dive into the actual HTML pages. So we're going to come into our index here, and we are going to create new HTML file. This one's going to be index. No, it's not. It's to-dos. It's named to-do. And I am not going to let you watch me write out a bunch of stuff, but instead we're going to talk a little bit about this. So the first thing that we're doing up here in the head is we're including a script. Said script is for the HTMX.org. They've moved to JS Deliver for their CDN. So you would just make sure you have the latest version of HTMX coming in. And from there, we're coming down and we're making a hidden input, which is going to be our page ID, and we're defaulting it to 0. Next, we're creating a button, and this is where the fun happens. Inside of this button, we're going to say hxGet. This is going to be an HTMX get method. So whenever this button gets clicked, this get request is made to this location, to this endpoint. We're going to say that the trigger is when the user clicks on the button, and then we're actually going to add a slight delay from when we get the request to when we update it on the screen, just so it gives us kind of that little bit of an effect that we click the button. Otherwise, it would just load in relatively instant. This is just a way to show you how you can kind of delay it a little bit. Next, we're going to say that the target that we're looking to do, this is important. This is the target element that we're looking to replace, swap, do whatever to. So this is what we're looking to look for, is the to-do table body, which down here is our T-body with an ID of table body. So all of the rows in this table are essentially getting swapped out, and we'll get into that. So this is telling us what we're swapping. Now, this is telling us how we're swapping it. So this is, we're saying before the end. Now, what this all means and what the before end, there's a large list of potential things you can do here, from inner HTML, which replaces the inner HTML of the target element, odor, which replaces the odor, text content replaces just the text content of the target element without actually parsing the response as HTML. We can do it before the beginning, which inserts it at the top before the element, or at the beginning of the element. We can put it after the beginning, which means it'll load the first bit in and then it will add this. We have it before end, which means it's going to stick this on to the end of the element before the element closes. After end is simply going to insert it at the end of the target element. Delete simply deletes the element that you're looking for, so this will delete whatever HTML element you've tagged. Or none is just, it doesn't append context from the response, and which is technically an out of band item, which I could do a full video if you'd like on that, but this is just sort of introducing. Next, we have this HX vals. What HX vals is values that will be appended to the end of our demo. So if you remember from our controller, we're saying that this load more endpoint is going to require parameters. So normally that would be question mark, page ID equals whatever. So if we come back in here, this hxvals is technically, we're telling it JavaScript here to do a page ID, and we want to grab the value of it. So this is right here is going to take care of getting the ID from this value here, and this is what grabs this value. This is what gets appended after after your htex get post or whatever. You can have more of these as there are an array, but I only have the one parameter. So this will put a question mark page ID equals whatever this value is. And now the next thing that I'm doing here is on click, I want to go in, and this is just simply incrementing. This isn't required, this is just how I did it. But this is just a way to increment this value by 1 every time you click it. And now that is our load more button. Down here in Thymeleaf, we're simply replacing the views. We're simply replacing the views with the to-do view. So if we were to next go in and create another HTML file, and we call this one to-do view, add that guy, and the to-do view, we are simply having and I'm once again, I'm just going to copy paste this and stick it in. This is just simply IDing this fragment as to-do row, and it's saying that for each to-do item inside of our to-dos list that we're passing in, which is this to-dos, we're then going to fill up the table rows. So now in here is going to pull this and replace it. So all of this aside, if this makes sense to you, hit that thumbs up. Looking back in our controller, when somebody clicks on load more, we're not going to reload the entire page. We're going to go into our to-do view, and we're looking for the to-do row, which is the name of the fragment, to-do row. So now when we click our button, it's just simply going to return this view into our to-do.html, which is then going to use this. This is going to use it replacement, Thymeleaf replacement, to then update. So if we look at a poorly done version of what this looks like, this is what it looks like. Now, let's take a look and see what that looks like if we run the application. Everything is up and going. And if we open up a browser, I'm going to do this in a incognito so that there's nothing in the memory. Whoops, clicked away. And in here, we're going to go to localhost 8080 slash, was it to do or to do's? What did I call that? To do's. To do's. And if we come here, you'll see that we have our to do's. And if we click on the load more button, nothing happens. What did we forget? So as it turns out, this needs to be the correct path. So if I rerun this now and we come back and look, if we reload this page, the first 10, click on load more, the next 11 load after a 500 millisecond delay. Isn't that wonderful? All right. So why is this approach powerful? Instead of building a heavy front-end framework, we rely on the server to render the HTML. The architecture now becomes server to the HTML to HTMX swapping fragments. This means there is a lot less JavaScript in your front end. It is a lot simpler to debug. It is cleaner server-sided rendering, and it leads to faster development. You're not writing these massive JavaScript files. Now, for many applications, this is dramatically simpler than building out a full spa. If this made sense to you, make sure to hit that like button. And this is how we make a very simple to-do application using Spring Boot, Thymeleaf, and HTMX. So, if you've made it this far, thank you very much for hanging out with me this evening. I hope that you've learned something new. If you did, make sure to hit that like so other developers can find this video. And subscribe if you want to keep learning as a midnight coder. And turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on a future video. And if you happen to know anyone else who's still learning, make sure to share this and help grow our community. Until next time, keep your curiosity open, your skills sharp, and that coffee cup full. I'll catch you in the next one.